Welcome to the Humanist Podcast. I'm your host, Ken Stearns. Join us on a journey where we unravel the intricacies of workplace dynamics. Hello, everybody. Good morning, and it's good morning in Vietnam, at least for me. It's a good afternoon, late afternoon, early evening for Tom. Welcome to the Humanist. Really, an opportunity to meet with some, great individuals and hear their stories. Either kind of in a reflective place, or where they're at now, and more of a focus on where they're going. But I think we've got Tom, and we were speaking a little bit earlier. It's going to be a kind of take an interesting take on the conversation. I really look forward to it. Tom, thanks for taking time out of your afternoon to sit down with us.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. Great to be with you.
So this is a kind of a cool episode for me because I'm an insurance guy and been out here in Asia doing insurance things for 23 years, and think I'm a reasonable expert in this stuff, at least out here. And then I get to go look at Tom's website and see Tom's speaking engagements, the books, and everything else. And Tom, man, you really did walk the walk for a long time. You talked the talk, you wrote the talk. You've been on TV stuff, the PBS special, very cool. And just worried and talking about retirement for the last 40 years.
Yes. Well, what happened was I was in the military, and I'll tell you the story how I got in the insurance industry.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, how did you end up in the job of last resort?
Yeah. So I was a company commander in the 7th Infantry Division Light out of Fort Ord, California, and there was a MetLife agent selling whole life insurance to my soldiers. And at the time, I was a buy term and invest the difference guy. I said, "Who's this guy ripping off my soldiers?" I said,
"Right." Oh, God.
I said, "Bring him to me." And they said, "Well, sir, he'll meet with you, but he wants your birth date." And I said, "Give him my birth date. I want to see him in my office." So he comes in my office the next day, and I start ripping him up. "What are you doing, ripping off my soldiers, selling this rip-off whole life insurance?" And he says, "No, sir, I'm protecting their families. I'm helping them save for a down payment on their first house. I'm helping pay for their kids' college. I'm going to give them tax-free income in retirement. Your soldiers were nice enough to give me a birth date, so I ran a printout for you." And I said, "Let me see this crap." And I'm looking at it. I say, "Okay, pay for 5 years." This was before the 7-pay test. This was a 5-pay whole life. You pay for 5 years, you don't pay again. So I'm saying, okay,
Yes.
Pay for 5 years, and then I don't pay again. And in the 6th year, my cash is there, and it keeps growing, and my death benefit keeps growing. I'm looking at this. I said, "Who would buy term insurance when you could buy this?" And he said, "Oh, I don't sell much term insurance." He said, "That's what I sell." I said,
"Yeah, who would buy term insurance, right?" Yeah, that's what he's thinking.
I said, you get paid well to sell this?" He said, "I get paid really well to sell it." I said, "I could sell that." And that's how I got in the insurance business. And then, once I was in there, then I started expanding and doing some other things. But that's the story of how I got in the business.
Oh, that is so good. I love that especially when he comes in. I took the privilege of printing you something out.
Right. Right.
Oh, God. What year was that? Where were you stationed?
That would have been in 1987, maybe 87, 88, right in there, because I started my insurance industry late in the 80s. And I spent 8 years with MetLife. I was an agent. I was a manager. I was a national marketing manager for Variable Life. Then I got recruited by New York Life, and I went over there as an annuity wholesaler and was training the New York Life agents on annuities. And I just kept getting promoted, and pretty soon I was a senior executive officer in the company. But I mean, corporate America today is just whack. I was happy to go. I retired in 2011. I've now written 6 books. 5 of them are on retirement. My latest one is helping younger people build wealth because, I got 4 kids from 22 to 40, and I'm teaching them how to become wealthy. And I just turned it into a book to help everybody. If, I show people how simple it is in America today to become a millionaire. Most Americans could be millionaires if they wanted to, except for 2 simple things. They spend way too much money on their cars, and they get divorced. So the moral of the story is drive a used car and stick with your first spouse.
Well, it's solid advice. I think I didn't take either one of those growing up.
I think your internet might be freezing a little bit.
How about now? Can you see me okay?
Yeah, I can see you now.
Yeah. I don't think I should have taken that advice twice.
Yeah.
Well, not twice, once. I was smart enough to learn the first time on both those.
Right.
you're retired now, and you've been out of corporate. Oh man, 13 years out.
I'm
It
mostly,
isn't.
I say I'm 70% retired. I say
Yeah.
that, but I mean, in the next 6 weeks, I'm on the road 6 weeks in a row.
Well,
But I've had a really nice summer. I got to play a lot of golf this summer and pickleball too.
you're out of corporate. I
Yeah.
mean, you're out of corporate, right? And I'm the
Yes.
same way. I call that I'm a free man now.
Yes.
What it feels like. Yeah, if corporate felt a bit like a prison at some point. Um, I wanted to ask you, there's a question. Coming out, you've been out of corporate. Something happened to me when I left corporate. There was so much creativity and so much energy focused on PowerPoints, meetings, emails, just that almost zero opportunity to really look over the horizon.
Mhm.
And you're almost looking at your feet every day. As much as I could be a strategy person and have to plan and create a vision, you come out of that 15 minutes of joy and you're back into this daily grind and just kind of trying to whack-a-mole the next mole.
Yeah.
You had an explosion of creativity writing when you got out of corporate. So seems like a similar experience that I had, that you had all this energy and creativity, or is it maybe just you gain this knowledge? So what
Yeah.
happens when you write 6 books? How do you do that? What happened?
Well, what happened is New York Life was about 10 years ahead of the whole industry on on retirement income. They focused on
Okay.
retirement income. And for years, they'd been doing a lot in variable annuities, and variable annuities are
Yeah.
sexy. It's the stock market and does this and this, and they can put guarantees on it. So you get the upside of the market, but they could guarantee over a 10-year
Yeah.
period of time you wouldn't lose money. It was a sexy product. But then when they really started going into retirement income, they wanted to sell SPIAs, single premium immediate annuities, and DIAs, deferred income immediate annuities. Those
Okay.
are the most boring, simple products ever. And I had to somehow get the field force that was selling these sexy VAs to start selling retirement income products. And in order to do that, I had to do a lot of research. I had to find out that these
Ah.
SPIAs and DIAs are not boring. They're not stupid. They're based in math and science. They have these things called mortality credits. It's extra money that gets paid to people. And so I really dug in. I read all the white papers of Dr. David Babel, Dr. Moshe Milevsky, Dr. Menachem Yari, Dr. Michael Finga, Dr. Wade Pfau, Dr. David Blanchett, read all their white papers. And I learned things that the average person didn't know. And so then I took that
Ah.
information and I put
Yeah.
it into simple English so that real people could understand it, because the average person on the street is not reading white papers from
Mm.
PhDs. Okay. And so I just put it into English. And my first book was called Paychecks and Playchecks. And that was the same title of my MDRT talk that I did in 2009 at Top of the Table in Kauai, and then 2010 up in Vancouver. And we just took that talk and we turned it into a book. And the book really concludes with 4 simple steps. Step number 1, you need to cover your basic living expenses in retirement with guaranteed lifetime income, not real estate, not the
Okay.
stock market, not rental properties, guaranteed lifetime income to at least cover your basic living expenses. Step 2, you then need to invest the rest of your money to protect yourself against inflation. You want to put it in things that go up in value over time.
Right. Okay.
Third step is you got to have a plan for long-term care. That's the one thing most people forget about
Yeah.
that can wipe out their entire retirement. And then step number 4, the most efficient way to pass your wealth to children, grandchildren, and charities is with life insurance. And so that was what Paychecks and Playchecks was all about. Just a very simple formula that if people followed it, they would have a better retirement than people who had a broker and money in the market or real estate or whatever. Those
Yes.
all have a place in a portfolio, but too many people forget about you got to have that guaranteed lifetime income. And when you do that, 3 things happen. Number 1, your portfolio will perform better. Number 2, you're likely to be happier. And now number 3, the research shows you're likely to live longer. And so that's what I try to do. I try to help people improve their portfolio performance, to be happier, and to live longer in retirement. And that's what the research shows that nobody else really knew about. And that kind of made guaranteed income a little sexier. And New York Life had a 42% share of lifetime income products. I think they're still at 40%. That's unheard of in a marketplace
That's
to have one company have a 40% market share. But that's what we did. And so then when I retired, I just took that information that I learned and I put it into books. And then I got hired by all the different companies and I trained all their advisors. So that's kind of where it started.
very interesting. It's f it's it's you get paid well when you can really take complicated things and make them simple.
And that's what I say. Simple sells and
Yeah.
complex confuses. When things are complex, they're confused.
Yes.
And I don't sell any financial products. So that's the other thing. I had a chance many times to be a part of an organization where I would get an override if people sold stuff, or I'd get a commission. I said, no, I get no commissions. I get no compensation, zero compensation from the sale of products. And what that did for me was it gave me more credibility with the average person out there when I say, look, whether you get an annuity or life insurance, I don't care. It's not going to affect my life at all. I'm going to show you why math and science says you need to, and how it will improve your portfolio, how you will be happier, and you're going to probably live longer. And so I'd show them this stuff that's all based in math and science. None of this is opinion based. It's all based in math and science. And if you think about it, who designs life insurance and annuity products? They're called actuaries. What do actuaries have to study to become actuaries? They have to study math and science.
Math and science, right.
All these products are based in math and science. And that's something the average person doesn't know. They say, oh, those insurance companies are out there ripping people off. No, they use the law of large numbers to give people an incredible deal. How can a 21-year-old buy $1 million of life insurance for like $20? Well, it's because the numbers show that not many 20-year-olds are going to die. But if you did, it was a great deal, And how can a 90-year-old be guaranteed 20% a year for the rest of their life from an insurance company? That's what the SPIA will pay them. It's based in math and science. And so, I just try to communicate these fairly complex things very simply and give people simple formulas. And like you said, I'm not just talking the talk. I'm now walking the walk. I've done everything that I write about and speak about.
Yeah, that was maybe come back to that question or that conversation. Before we started, we talked about, here you are, you spent, a good bit of your career talking about retirement. And now here you are out of corporate and corporate retired. You're certainly not inactive. What is it like being on this side of the fence now and looking back?
Well, I love it. And here's what I've found, because I have other friends who are speakers that are older than me, and they're still doing it. And they're going it. But see, a lot of people don't have hobbies. They don't have other things to do. And so for me, I play golf 4 to 5 days a week. I play pickleball 2 to 3 days a week. And I have a whole different set of friends at those things. And then my wife and I, we went on a Panama Canal cruise. We went on a Mediterranean cruise for our 40th anniversary. It was an unbelievable cruise. We went on a Caribbean cruise. We're going to Barbados next week. Then in October, we're doing a cruise in Portugal and the Canary Islands. Next spring, we're doing Australia and Singapore and Bangkok. And then in the summer, we're doing the Viking Grand European Tour from Budapest to Amsterdam. And it's going to stop at one of the cities that we lived in, Germany, for 3 years when I was in the Army. And so, I got lots of stuff to do. I got 4 kids. I got 3 grandkids. I'm not bored, but I do see some of my friends who don't have anything else. They're bored. I still do 2 or 3 webinars a week. I do stuff. Like I said, like the next 6 weeks, I'm gone every week, but I'm trying not to do in-person ones. I'm trying to do more virtual, but I have lots of things going on. So I'm not at all bored. And, I own 13 annuities. I have 4 pensions. My life insurance premium was $226,000 for 12 years. I did a 12 pay hold. So I have an unlimited benefits long-term care plan. So like I say, I am doing everything I talk about, I write about, I speak about, and a guy like, some guys on TV would say, oh, he did everything wrong. And I said, yeah. And look, it's pretty darn nice. I'm doing everything I wanted to do.
And I'm paying the price right now for doing everything wrong.
Well, So I'm actually really enjoying retirement, and I'm trying to share with people, how to have more fun. You know what there was a white paper that just came out. I don't know if I have it right here, but it came out from the Alliance for Lifetime Income, and it's called The License to Spend. And it was done by Dr. Michael Fink and Dr. David Blanchett, and it shows in there mathematically that people who have guaranteed income spend more money in retirement. They are happy because they get to spend more. And people with assets, they don't dare touch them. Oh, what if the market goes down? What if there's World War III? What if China goes into Taiwan? And so they live this just in case retirement. They don't touch your money. I say, wait a minute now. You told me when you retired, you're going to join the country club. You're going to buy a new boat. You're going to go see the world. Have you done that yet? Oh no, the market's crazy. The country's so divided. There's wars going on. And so they don't touch their money. They don't touch their money. They don't touch their money. Then they die. What
and then you're
happens?
dead.
The money goes to kids. What are they doing?
Well,
They join
first
the
it goes
country
to the
club. They buy a
first
new
it goes
boat.
to the
They go to
government.
school. Yeah. And so I'm just trying to tell people, if you have someone's guaranteed lifetime income, you can spend it because
Oh,
the checks never stop. As long as you're breathing, the checks are coming. And when the checks are coming, you're more likely to spend money
yeah,
than
yeah.
from a portfolio that you don't dare, because every day that thing's going up and
Yes.
down and you're scared to death to do anything with it. And so most people live a suboptimal retirement, less than what they could or should. Most people are not overspending. Those are the stories you read about. Oh, they're running out of money. Most people underspend in retirement. And the wealthiest people underspend the most. They could be flying private if they had these checks coming in. Oh, yeah, we'll go private now, or we'll go first class. You know, I tell people, if you don't fly first class, your kids will.
Ouch. Ouch, right? I mean, that's so painful. Painful, like you said, if you are portfolio based, when you die, you first have to hand it to the government, right? Doesn't the
Right.
government takes, and then the kids join the country club.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, and you know, I've got life insurance to go to the kids, so we want to spend
Yeah,
all
you're
our
already
money.
done. Yeah,
I tell
yeah.
people, don't leave your kids any money. You're not supposed to leave your kids money. You're supposed to spend every last penny. Leave them
Yes.
life insurance, because you can do that for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, exactly. And it's tax. I mean, the tax benefits are
Yeah.
much better, just much easier to process that whole piece. You've got everything planned, where you're going, who you're seeing. What else you thinking about next? What, are you going to stay in the books? If you write another book, is it going to be another insurance financial book?
I mean, I don't know if I'm going to write another book. I might, but this one, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? This is the one for young people. This is where I show people how simple it is to build wealth in America today, you know? And one of the things I learned early on as an agent, you know, when people would ask me, when I was a brand new agent, they say, well, what do you do? You know, I'd be at a ball game or I'd be at a party, and somebody say, so what do you do for a living? Well, some people say I'm a life insurance agent or I'm a financial advisor. I didn't say that. I said, I help people become millionaires. You tell me how many million you want. I'll show you exactly what you need to do to get there. Now, remember, this was almost 40 years ago. ETFs didn't even exist. I couldn't illustrate mutual funds. I couldn't illustrate annuities at the time. There was one product I could illustrate, and that was life insurance. So what I would do is I would run an illustration solving for $1 million of cash value at their age 65. And that would show them what the premium was. Now, I don't think everybody should put all their money in life insurance. That wasn't the point. But what I found is, for people to achieve something, they have to believe they can do it. And right now, 90% of Americans believe they'll never become wealthy. And they're right. And the other 10% know they're going to become wealthy. And they're right too, because they believe it. But I found, to believe something, you have to see it. And so when they saw a piece of paper with their name and $1 million, all of a sudden they said, okay, well, that premium is a little high. And then I would take to a time value of money calculator. And I said, you know, if you could get 6% on your money, you'd only have to put away about $500 a month. If you could get 9% on your money, you don't have to put away about $250 a month. If you got 12% of your money, you only have to put away about $100 a month. That's for a 25-year-old. And now all of a sudden they say, well, I could do that. I could do that. And when they could see that they can do it, they have a much, much higher percentage of becoming wealthy. The other people say, oh, I'll never do it. I'll never get there. It's a waste of time. I'm not going to do it. And they never will become wealthy, because they don't believe they can be. And so what I found as an agent, if I could get my clients to believe that they could become wealthy, guess what? A bunch of them did. And so that's that. And I took that out. And that's really what this book is about, is showing people how simple it is to become wealthy in America today.
And that's all your books. Everything's on tomhegna.com.
Yeah. And I pay for this is free shipping. I pay for the shipping on that one if they want it. So, and it's a great book for your kids and grandkids. You know, if you got Christmas or holidays, you know, what am I going to give my kids? Get them that. Okay. Because they're wasting money. They're spending money.
Yeah.
And most of the parents know it. And this can help put them on the straight and narrow for financial stuff.
First customer when you were an agent, who'd you sell your first whole life policy to?
You know, I never sold to my family. I did not sell to my family. I did all cold business. You know, and what we did back in the day is we would mail we buy these lists of people who just bought houses because everybody's coming into Phoenix. Everybody's coming to Phoenix. We buy the list of new homeowners, and then we call them and say, okay, hey, congratulations, you moved into your house. Now you need to get mortgage protection. Are you more interested in temporary or permanent? And they go, what the heck are you talking about? Well, I got to come over on Tuesday and tell you. And so, and then what happened is a lot of seniors moved to Arizona. And guess what? I learned how to help them reduce or eliminate taxes on their Social Security benefits. Because if you get above like 35,000 or 45 as a couple, you have to pay tax on 85% of your Social Security benefits. So I'd go into a house and I'd show them they could go from 85 down to 0 because they had money in CDs or they had money in tax-free bonds and they thought they were tax-free. Well, tax-free bonds are not tax-free for Social Security. Every penny counts towards the taxation. So most people don't know that. So I would just show them, if you move your tax-free bonds over into this tax-deferred annuity, or if you move that CD into this tax-deferred annuity, you're going to pay 0 tax on your Social Security benefits. Well, boom, I did a lot of business, and they would refer me like crazy to their friends. They said, man, this guy just got me down to 0 tax on my Social Security. You got to talk to him. And so then I got into the annuity business.
Oh, man.
And so that's kind of how that all took off from there. But it all started with that new home market.
First death claim.
Oh, this was one that I wrote myself, and I still remember this case because in Phoenix, Arizona, all the houses have red roofs, but there's one subdivision in Chandler that has blue tiled roofs, and they lived in this blue tile roof, and it was husband and wife, 2 kids. Okay, and I went in there and I met with them, and I wrote. At the time with this big policy, 500,000 on him, 250,000 on her, I think. And then I put some on the kids. I might have got long-term. I might have had another policy too. But anyway, about 2 years later, the guy calls me up and says, Tom, I'm getting a divorce. We got to cancel those policies. And I said, well, look, I work with a lot of people. I've had a lot of families go through this. A lot of times people make up. So what I'd recommend is, instead of canceling the policy, you have a universal life. As a variable universal life, you can stop that premium. You have enough cash in there that'll keep that policy going for several years. Let's just stop the premium. Let's see how this all works out, so we don't have to re-underwrite and everything. And he said, I don't care. I just don't want to put a penny in it. And I said, okay. So I stopped the premium. About a month or 2 later, I'm reading the Sunday paper, and I read that he shot her 3 times and then killed himself. But she was alive and she was hanging on in this hospital. Well, I raced into my office because I had the file. And normally when I do a fact finder, I ask about their parents, their brothers, their sisters, and all this stuff. So I had her parents' phone number in my file. I called her dad. I said, look, my name's Tom Hegna. I'm the insurance agent. I'm so sorry what happened. But I want you to know, when the time is right, I am here to help you with the claim. He had a life insurance policy, and the dad just immediately said, what is this, some kind of joke? He canceled that policy like 3 months ago. I said, no. He wanted to cancel, but we just stopped the premium. That policy is in force. And I delivered a check in the hospital room. She was shot in the eye and she was barely recovering. And I delivered $500,000 to her in the bed, in her hospital bed. And she was able to start her own business, pay off the house. It was an amazing, almost like miracle situation that I brought this, that they thought was totally gone. It was not available. No, here it is. And it was $500,000. It made all the difference in her life.
It's one of the closing kind of comments I've got I was sharing with Tom before we started. I'm giving presentations to some MDRT hopefuls, which are top insurance people. And one of the last lines in there is, I'm a person who delivers hope in a dark time, reminding agents of that ultimate amazing thing you can do. I mean, it's terrible in a way, but it's also amazing. It's an amazing gift that comes out of nowhere for people, especially in these kind of stories. Just so powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I've delivered a lot of death claims, but a lot of them were ones that were written by other people years ago, and they're widows, and they're in their 70s, 80s, 90s, and I would deliver those death claims. But this one, this couple they're probably in their 30s by the time this all happened. But when I wrote them, originally they were in their 20s. I mean, that was a life-changing, delivery for her, because otherwise she would have nothing in a hospital, and she's shot and through the eye, and now she's kind of permanently disabled, and it was literally a miracle for her and her family.
Yeah, those are tough calls. Some advice maybe for insurance agents here in Vietnam. We just had a bank assurance, little- other than call it just a scandal, bank assurance scandal, where were they putting not so sophisticated buyers, depositors, into unit linked, basically universal products, unit linked products into the market, and people come to find out that they didn't have any. They gave somebody $5,000, and actually, what's available now is 250.
Yeah.
And so the industry
Well,
took quite a beating.
unfortunately, there will always be some bad actors out there, but that's why it's so important to deal with reputable companies, reputable advisors, and people say, well, how do I find that? Well, longevity is one of the best things. You don't have an
Yeah,
agent out there who's been an agent for 30 years that's out there doing bad things. You can't do that. Like,
yeah, you don't last that long.
you don't last that long. You get thrown
Yeah,
out. So, the longer somebody's been there, the more likely they are to be on the up and up, or
yeah,
they wouldn't be there.
yeah. But how about for the agents now that are the real, the good agent? All those
Yeah.
bad actors are gone for now.
Yeah.
Until they find their way back in, or a different iteration of that same person. Um, But the ones that go out and talk to clients, how have you handled that kind of feedback? Because you've been
Well,
through some of those. I mean, the US is not immune either,
no.
where insurance got a pretty bad mark on itself by bad actors. And how do you get through those tough times? Is branding kind of get branding back?
Well, I mean, I was always taught there's three ways to increase your production: see the people, see the people, see the people. So the business hasn't changed. You got to be belly to
Yeah, yeah.
belly, face to face with
Yes.
people, every day, two to three to four to five to six people face to face every day. And if you do that, you're going to be successful. If you're only
Yes.
seeing two people face to face a week, you're not going to be very successful. And if you only see two people face to
Yeah.
face per month,
Fair enough.
you're not going to be in the business. So
Yeah.
it's really an activity based thing. But then you got to learn, like I couldn't have done what I did by myself. I learned
Hmm.
words and language from the Kinder brothers. They taught me what to say. They taught me
Yeah.
how to handle objections. Joe Jordan taught me how to present annuities, and he came up with these products, the equalizer. That was a thing. That was a fund in a variable annuity where if the market went down, you bought more. And if the market went up, you sold and took profits. And so you're always either taking advantage of lower prices or taking profits. And he just taught a lot of neat things. And I learned, and I was a sponge, and I learned, and I just said the words they said, and it worked. So, and that's what I do now. So like I teach advisors how to become top producers, and
Yes. Yeah.
it's not hard, but you got to invest one of two things. You either got to invest time or you got to invest money. And none of my stuff is expensive, but you got to take time. It takes 10,000 hours to become a master at anything. I've done this for more than 10,000 hours in my life. And so
I think so.
Most advisors, they read a little this or but they really don't know their products inside and out. And they really don't know how to handle that objection when somebody says, I can't afford it, or I want to think about it, or, you got to be smooth with these things. And you got to go right through it. And that's where the top salespeople know the words, the right words. This is a language business. It's a words and language business.
Perfect.
And when you can learn the right language, then it's a lot easier, but you got to invest some time and probably a little bit of money to get good at what you do.
Yeah, I love this. When you were saying the bell, you got a face to face, right? I still remember back in it's 1999. The internet was booming, and they were already signaling the doomsday for insurance agents. It was all over. Agency would be dead. Everybody will buy from the internet, and say goodbye to the life insurance agency business. And still waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, well, people don't buy insurance; they're sold insurance. They don't buy annuities. Somebody has to sell them because people don't take proactive action on these types of things. Most people don't. Nobody walks over and says at happy hour says, "Bam, you're dead. You just got hit by a drunk driver. Now let me talk to you." But I did that in my appointments. I would take the guy out. He'd say, "I don't need any more life insurance." He's going to run off with Fred at the bowling alley. They're always flirting on Tuesday nights. And I'd point at him and say, "Bang, you just got hit by a drunk driver. You're going to be dead for the next 5 minutes." Then I want to talk to you now. He said he got enough insurance. He's got $250,000. It's going to give you $2,000 a month. And he says on $2,000 a month, you can run. You're going to be good. The house, you can pay for all the phone, the internet, the insurance. Do you have anything you want to say to him? And then I shut up. I stay out of it. In fact, 250,000 gives you 2,000 a year. Okay. Basically. And
Yeah.
so she would just, and I didn't ever try to convince him. I just convinced
You're not
her,
going to,
and
right,
she would
right.
convince him. I didn't have to convince him. I convinced her. She convinced him. And that's the way
Well,
I
you just
decided.
told her the facts, right? You didn't even
Yeah.
have to convince her. You just tell her
Yeah.
the truth, which is,
Yeah.
you know,
I
if
mean,
you're
she could
if you're
see
okay
right
with
away.
2,000,
Yeah, you can't live on that. And so you got to show them, you got to take them to the point of death. And nobody wants to do that. Nobody does that. But you have to take them to the point of death, because this is a very serious business. And when there's kids involved, you know, I wouldn't leave the house. I would not leave the house if they had kids and they didn't have life insurance. I said, you are getting life insurance. We can talk about what type or what kind or what amount, but you got to get life insurance. I'm not leaving. You got kids right there. You can't have a wife and kids and not have life insurance. It's irresponsible. And so, you know, I just believe it down here. I say there's a difference between knowing some up here and knowing it down here. I know this stuff down here, and I don't take weak excuses, and I don't take weak objections, and I'm there to protect those kids. And I took my job very seriously. And, you know, I had success with what I did because I really believed in what I was doing. I was helping people.
Believe in what you're
Yeah.
what you're doing. I think nothing like paying a death claim to do that. Right.
Yeah.
And for me was, you know, the first death claim you pay, and you're in the business. Somebody described it to me once, you're in the business of life insurance. And then when you pay a claim, especially with kids involved, the business is inside you, right?
Yeah.
It really, it just flips, and you do become really an evangelist. That you touch on something I forgot that I used to talk about, which is, you know, where you're paid to and well rewarded to ask the really difficult questions and talk about things that people don't want to talk about. And
Yeah.
I think you're right. Bringing people to that moment of death and what happens in those hours and weeks and years after. And once you immerse yourself in that, like you said, they're not running around to solve this problem. You have to get in front of them and have to really immerse them in the reality of life.
So my daughter, she's 22, and she just got her first real job with benefits. And so she did, Dad, I got to pick out how much life insurance. Like, I don't really need any life insurance. And I said, Sammy, you don't need life. She's 22. She's single. She doesn't have anything. And I said, but if I were you, I would get 200,000 or 300,000 of the group term at $6 per 100,000. She goes, yeah, but Dad, that comes out of my paycheck. I don't need it. And I said, Sammy, you can't buy any insurance when you need it. You know, when you need car insurance, cause a 5-car pileup out on the freeway, you try calling State Farm. Oh, State Farm, I'm glad you answered the phone. I need some car insurance. They won't sell it to you. You know, when you need homeowners insurance, when the hurricane's off the horizon, you try calling Allstate. Say, Allstate, I got some mayhem going on. I need some homeowners insurance. They won't sell it to you. I said, you're young, you're healthy, you can afford it. This is exactly when you buy life insurance.
Yeah.
And then she said, but Dad, I don't need it. I said, Sammy, what if in 4 years you're married with 2 kids? And then you come down with cancer or some disease.
Yeah.
You're going to be so glad you got that, and you can't go back and get it because now you're going to have to go be underwritten. This is not underwritten. You can just pick it when you join. And she said, yeah, but what if I quit my job in 2 years? And what happens to money? I said, it's gone, but you got the protection. And so, I mean, I even have this argument with my daughter. You know,
oh my gosh.
I look in the future of way things could be, and she's looking at her paycheck today saying, I don't want to pay $12 a month for life insurance, you know? And so it's the way people are.
Well, especially when you see that first paycheck with taxes coming out. I you know, nothing makes somebody go from in your paycheck, your first paycheck, and going, well, wait, what happened to all that money? Yeah, you got to pay for
see, I trained my kids because when they were eating candy or something, I'd take some of their candy and say, that's taxes, and I'd eat it. Or if they're eating an ice cream cone, I'd take it and I'd take a big bite. That's taxes. And I saw they got to taste the taxes as a child, because I'd give them, I'd take some of their stuff and say, that's taxes, so that they weren't shocked.
It's a tax monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. And I've just been having those conversations I have 2 daughters as well, 2 daughters and a couple of grandkids. And the one with the family just had bought insurance not too long ago. They had some group insurance and everything else, but I was kind of imploring them to get some personal insurance. You need to own your own policy now. You're the right age.
I told Sammy, I said, better would be to get your own personal policy, put $200 a month. You go, I can't afford $200 a month. I said, okay, well, just get the term for now. But I mean, eventually that's what you want to do. You want to build some cash value.
Yeah, and that was with them. So they ended up with 2. So they kept one they bought a few years ago. I got them to move on, and it's convertible.
Yep.
So it is, good. It's good, right? So it's, you've got that guaranteed insurance. If you need to convert it, you can convert it. The rates might not be great, but you've got the life cover in case you need it,
Yep.
in case you get to that spot. It is kind of fun to think, we're in that, been in the business forever, and you want to make sure your kids understand it. And even like you said, even your own family, you have to, you got to convince,
I
right?
got objections from my own daughter. And I said, Sammy, you are the CEO of your own life. You have to make your decision. She
Yeah,
said, don't do
exactly.
that. I'm asking you for help. And I said, well, I just told you what I
Yeah.
thought. You didn't like it, but I told you what I would do.
You just got to pull out your book. Who
Yeah.
wants to be a million? Do you want to be a millionaire or not, Sammy?
Right.
Oh,
Right.
that's funny. Oh, that was the other choice of one of my. That was one choice for our daughters was Samantha. We went with the Alex because it could have been Alexander. We went with Danielle because it could have been Danny. Either way, it would have worked. So we didn't know what we were gonna get, so we just came up with a pre-name,
Right.
just in case. So you're thinking about you're living, you really are walking the walk or walking the talk. After all this time, not sure about the next book. I mean, you've got a lot of creativity. You don't feel like writing a different kind of book, a
Well, I
life
mean,
book?
I'm still doing a lot of stuff. I mean, maybe I'll write another book, but I don't feel like I have to. And
No, you don't
I've been
have
doing
to.
little TikTok videos. I'm not a big TikTok thing because I think it's
That's what I
communist
was
China
good.
and all that. But the young people are on TikTok. So when I go on these cruises, at every port, I'd shoot a little TikTok video that's really cute. So if you have anybody on TikTok, just look up Tom Hegna and you'll see it's really short, little cute videos that I talk about the gladiators who some of them saved up money and they bought their freedom, which is all retirement is financial freedom. And I talked about there's two types of people, spenders and savers. And if you're a spender, you want to marry a saver. And if you're a saver, you want to marry a spender, because it's better if you're balanced. If you're both spenders, oh yeah, you'll party like it's 1999, but you're going to get a divorce and you're going to run out of money. If you're both savers, oh, you'll have a lot of money, but you'll live a very boring life. And so if you have a spender and a saver, I'm the saver. My wife's the spender. She makes sure we have some fun along the way. And I think that's the best. So, I mean, I just do little cute videos like that. I have fun doing it.
Kind of a corporate question, strategy question, maybe, and then I'll kind of try to think of some good wrap up conversation. Here we've been doing, still it's 1960s, 1970s insurance on the evolutionary scale. We've come off a lot of still mass recruitment, real easy exams to get licensed and get people in, sell your mother, brother, father, sister, auntie, uncle, and then probably as an agent parish. High turnover, which is, the industry standard anyway. But one of the things I'm thinking of trying to get back into is trying to launch that full-time model again. We've tried it here in Asia quite a bit, try to get agents to come in and pay them us either a salary and a lower commission and get them up to a place, maybe it's 6 months or 1 year or 2 years, and then kind of let them free to go on to the full kind of, agency model. Any advice on that? Does this work? Is it possible? Does it work? Is it part of the evolutionary scale? What would be your advice for a market like this?
I think this business is so hard to begin with that when you just throw people out to the wolves and they're commission only, it's very hard, and that drives people to do things that they shouldn't do because they have to survive. When I came out of the Army. I was a captain in the Army. At the time, I was making $36,000 a year, which is about $700 a week. And MetLife had a training allowance program, and 700 was the most they would do, and they'd never done it. And I said, well, for me to come and work for you, you got to give me the 700 a week. And that was for 2 years. And it wasn't full salary. It came out of your selling too, but there's a formula, but it kind of weed you off it. But that really helped me in the first 6 months to a year. And I made $1 Million Round Table my first year. So for me, that really helped me ease into the industry. And I just watched too many people kind of being thrown out there and say, oh, you write 100 policies, you'll learn the business. Well, they don't survive for 100. And so I do think if you can give somebody a training allowance or a salary for that maybe goes down over a 2-year period of time, it can definitely help them get in the business.
Yeah, I'm working on that model right now, and I just think the time is right. The the regulators are, because of this, because of some of the bad actors, the regulators do their normal thing. They kind of wake up from their slumber, write a
Yeah.
bunch of crazy, nonsensical regulations, and throw them up against the wall, and then huff and puff and say, "Look at how well we did."
Yeah.
And then the industry's got to make sense of it, and then try to get the agency force or the strategies back in line so they can adapt.
Right.
And so we're kind of at that spot where we're kind of waiting to see what the regulator decides to do. I mean, I'd say nonsensical, but they talk to each other, so they have a plan. It's just really taking the 2025 plan and giving it to us today.
Yeah.
And we may not be ready for it, right? It all happens kind of in a flurry. Yeah, MDRT. So this is a good topic for me. It's that's such a great organization and such a great thing to aspire to as an agent. Any advice, kind of maybe because I've got one more talk on Friday or Saturday to some agents here, the last MDRT batch, and then one next month with a different company. But any, kind of any advice on there for
Yeah.
people
So
aspiring and
when I was a brand new agent, I had an agent come up to me and he had the MDRT logo on his business card. And he said, if you don't have this logo on your business card, you're a nobody in this industry. And I didn't want to be a nobody. And so I focused on making MDRT. And what I did is I went to the MDRT site. I ordered I ordered tapes of the previous meetings. I read through all the books. They got books, they got audiobooks. And while I was driving from appointment to appointment, I'm listening to these top producers and what do they do? And that really helped me as well. So between the Kinder brothers, Joe Jordan, Ted Kukuski, and these MDRT tapes, that's what did it. And I think if people are trying to do it by themselves, that's a fool's errand. It'll take you 40 years to learn what you could learn in hours or weeks. If you really dive into some of this training and some of these videos and audios, I can get people really good really fast, but they got to take time to do it. And a lot of advisors, they don't take the time to learn their craft. You got to sharpen your blade. You got to learn your craft. You got to become an expert in this business.
Yeah, and I 100% agree on that. And that's kind of the you got to have that belief. Talk about mindset, right? It's a lot about just a mindset. When you decide you're an MDRT, then you start to, walk like one, think like one, and then you want to be around people speaking like MDRTs, which if you can't find them, then you end up on the MDRT site, immersing yourself in the cult. You have to, I guess, immerse yourself in the culture.
Yeah. And I learned things to say. I'm a $1 million roundtable qualifier. I've qualified before I even did it. You just say it in the present tense, and then I put pictures up on the bathroom mirror of the places, the meetings that they go to, and the places that I want to attend, and that every morning I see that, and that's my goal. I'm going to get there. I'm going to do it. I'm going to hit that number, and I really held myself accountable, and that's one thing the military teaches you a lot of self-discipline. And I had self-discipline in spades. And, you can't go to the colonel and say, yeah, I didn't get it done because, the kids got sick and they got a flat tire and blah, blah, blah. That doesn't work in the Army. Okay. That doesn't work. And so when agents would tell me that when I'm the manager and say, well, tell me about your week. Well, my wife was sick. I got a little sick. The kids were, you got to see people. I mean, this generation needs a lot more self-discipline, I think. But that's the one thing I for 30 years I was the hardest worker I knew. I didn't know anybody who worked harder than me. I was on the road every day. I mean, my family sacrificed a lot, but now my wife sees it, and now we are getting to enjoy the benefits of all that hard work.
It's a great spot to close, right? We kind of touched on that as an angle I wanted to get from you before, which was you've done all this for so long and now you're living it. You're actually enjoying the fruit of your philosophies.
Yeah, my PBS TV special was "Don't worry, retire happy," and I'm retiring happy, and I'm not worrying.
That is so good. What a great spot to be. Well, when you come to Thailand, I'll make sure. When is that next summer?
We'll be in Thailand in April, next April and May. April, I think we're actually in Thailand. Yeah.
April and May. Okay, April. Well, if you want to give any presentations or do any sharings, let me know. I
spoke in Bangkok for MDRT, and I've spoken for MDRT like 12 times. There's very few people who've ever been asked to speak 12 times. Like short list.
that would be a very short. Well, it'd be the guys you just mentioned. Maybe it's Joe Jordan, yourself,
or Ben
Kinder
Feldman,
brothers,
and
the
then
Feldman.
maybe
Yeah,
some of the officers like Tony Gordon and some of those. But a lot of
yeah. I'm
those
not sure that
past
doesn't count.
presidents and stuff. So I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
but there's some great people, and I would strongly encourage people to attend those meetings. The MDRT meeting, the MDRT Experience meeting in Asia. Those are all
yeah,
great
yeah,
meetings to attend.
yeah. They're doing a lot of really. It's really a focus point now, and I think the last couple of years, all the companies, especially they're headquartered either in Singapore or in Hong Kong,
Yeah,
regional offices for foreign companies, and there's a huge emphasis and investment on MDRT. Like you said,
yeah,
you're nobody in the business, and we're not there yet in Asia as far as maturity goes, but it's
right.
it's rapidly approaching. Um, Tom, first one is just remind people, go tomhegna.com, great books. And I love your titles, super cute titles. I think make it very approachable as well. Your titles are very clever because they don't look like heavy reading.
And they're
Any kind
not.
of
The
yeah.
books are easy to read. They're all easy to read. Yep.
Yeah. Any kind of closing thoughts, anything to leave people with? I think we did pretty good.
Yeah, I just think there is a formula to build wealth. There is a formula to retire the optimal way, and
Formula.
I've laid that out, and I would encourage people to take advantage of that. I have a free YouTube channel if you want to watch some videos and get smart, and then I have an online training system for advisors. But
Super.
I'm just trying to help people, and again, I'm mostly retired now, so I just share some of the stories of what I'm doing in retirement and
Yeah.
what the research shows. I want people to be happy. I want them to live longer, and I want them not to worry, and their portfolio will do better if they do some of these things, and you don't have to worry. So that's all I'd say. Just retirement is great, and if
I
young people
love it.
knew how great it was, they would save more. They would save more. I knew it was going to be great, and I saved a lot, but I was a
Actually,
saver.
so true, right? If
Yeah.
people knew how good retirement is, this is the best. I just wrote a post last night for LinkedIn, and it really was, actually a couple of these last posts have been about how good it is. This third act,
Yeah.
the third act is just such a great part of life. Just loving it. I'm
Yeah.
loving the sharing opportunities and helping other people.
Yeah. Well,
Tom,
thank
again,
you, Ken,
thanks
for
so.
having me.
Yeah, thanks so much. Hang around for a bit. I'll just kind of just say hi on the back end. And
Sure.
thanks everybody for listening and supporting The Humanist. Got a bunch of great episodes like Tom's, great guests on sharing either life experience or sharing what it's like to be at corporate life and kind of bring a little bit of joy and happiness to corporate life and less of the stuff that Tom and I kind of had a fun experience of the gladiator ring of corporate, and how we're kind of trying to change that approach. And boy, life insurance is such a lovely place to live. Again, Tom, thanks. Hang on for 20 seconds. I'll see you in a minute. Welcome to the Humanist Podcast. I'm your host, Ken Stearns. Join us on a journey where we unravel the intricacies